We got some big-time injury updates around two key players of the Minnesota Vikings, that being T.J. Hockenson and Andrew Van Ginkel. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and with the coaching staff, just talking to media over the past couple of days, they gave us pretty solid insight on the latest around Hockenson and Van Ginkel. And then later on today's show, Tom Pelissero dropped an interesting quote on Sam Darnold potentially starting the entire season. We'll dive into that here in a second. But before we dive into that, guys, I think we can agree, injuries were the biggest reason why the Vikings did not make the playoffs last season. You lost Kirk Cousins, you lost Justin Jefferson, even guys like Cam Akers. There was injuries all over the board for this football team. If you want the Vikings to stay healthy this year, like the video. Don't jinx it. I'm a superstitious guy, so if you guys can help me out and just get the good mojo going out there into the universe, drop a like on today's show if you want the Vikes to be healthy all season. So Ben Gessling, great Vikings beat reporter, by the way, does a fantastic job on Twitter. Yesterday, he was just talking about T.J. Hockenson, and he actually tweeted out what Kevin O'Connell said, and he said T.J. Hockenson, is on schedule with his recovery process. He didn't have a timetable on when Hockenson could return, but said the short-term IR rules might keep the Vikings from needing to put Hockenson on the PUP list to start the regular season. That was very interesting. Then he also tweeted out the quote from Kevin O'Connell saying, with the ability to designate guys to return, you can find ways to get your guys out practicing and on a timeline that might have been different in years past when you would have used the PUP list. And he also said the Vikings are very, very pleased with Hockenson's progress so far. So if Hockenson's not able to go, who's going to be able to step up in this Vikings tight end room? You got Josh Oliver, in my opinion, the best run blocking tight end in the NFL. Then you got Tunyon, who has absolutely been killing it at Vikings minicamp. Alec Lewis tweeted out a couple days ago that said Tunyon was absolutely dominating the day 2 session. Then you still got guys like Nick Muse, Johnny Munt. And then as you see right there, 2 names under the tight end 2 spot. And Harry. Yes, N'Keal Harry is taking reps with the tight end. And, with him, he's 6'4", 235 pounds. He actually did put on 10 pounds of muscle this offseason. So I think that kind of showed his preparation in shifting from a wide receiver to the tight end spot. So maybe N'Keal Harry is going to be, tight end 2 while Hockenson is out. Like, could you imagine that former first-round pick N'Keal Harry transitioning from wide receiver to tight end? I think it's pretty damn cool. But more on Hockenson. I was very critical of Hockenson at the beginning of last season. He had a ton of drop issues, but man, he really turned it around. I mean, in 15 games played, 960 yards, 95 catches, 64 yards per game. He was on pace to have over 100 catches and 1,000 yards easily. And, if Jordan Addison, Hockenson, and Jefferson could go all over 1,000 yards this season, I think it would be pretty special. But, 10.1 yards per catch as well for Hock. But I do want to take a look at an ACL recovery. So even though Hock, plays a different position than these guys as they're all quarterbacks, and he also did tear his MCL. I think this gives us good context on when he could possibly be returning. So I'm going to take Kyler Murray and Carson Wentz, who you see at the top and the bottom of your screen. Take them for example. So Hockenson tore his ACL in Week 15, and Kyler Murray wasn't able to return until Week 10. So, and Carson Wentz was pretty miraculous. He returned Week 3. But I think around Week 10 and Week 11 and maybe Week 12 is when we can anticipate T.J. Hockenson returning. But anytime before that, I think it would be, incredibly unlikely. But let's talk about Robert Tunyon here. I think he is a great replacement short-term option for T.J. Hockenson. He has been killing it during Minnesota Vikings minicamp so far. And, I was talking to our Bears Now host, Harrison Graham, a little bit about Tunyon. And, he said he definitely had a down year, and he definitely lost his step with the Chicago Bears last season. But, give me just a solid 10 weeks of being a strong tight end 2, and then maybe you switch in to N'Keal Harry here and there. And, I think the Vikings, I think they're going to be able to manage T.J. Hockenson's injury. And, it won't be like catastrophic where it's like, oh, they have no tight ends. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to get no production. I think Tonyan will be able to, no doubt step in there, for about 2.5 months and perform. But Alec Lewis did write up an article about Andrew Van Ginkel as he is still rehabbing from a foot injury he suffered last season. He said Van Ginkel has not yet practiced. He is still rehabbing from a foot injury suffered in the Dolphins' 2023 regular season finale against the Buffalo Bills, but his time is coming. He said maybe it'll happen in training camp or once the season starts, but it will happen as he is, for all intents and purposes, the one-man embodiment of what Flores seeks in his players. 100%, Al. Couldn't agree with you more. But, talking about what Brian Flores looks for in his players is versatility. Look at these stats right now. 69 tackles, 6 sacks, 8 PBUs, a touchdown, and an interception. I guarantee you he is on a very short list of players who had 5+ sacks, 69 tackles, and 8 pass breakups last season. And on top of that, his pass rush win rate was actually top 7 in the NFL last season at 18.1%. He is the definition of a Swiss Army knife, and that's exactly what Brian Flores wants in his defensive players. And also PFF, they love him over there as well. That's why I'm so excited to see Van Ginkel suit up for the purple and gold on game days. But a 91.1 overall grade last season, a 76.3 run defense grade, and a 90.6 pass rush grade for Van Ginkel last season. And no doubt, this was a Brian Flores signing. I promise you, when it was Flores, Kevin O'Connell, and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, when they were all looking at the free agents this season, Flores was pounding the table, saying, I need Van Ginkel on this defense. I could do everything I want with him. Drop him in the coverage, blitz the quarterback, be good in run defense. Like, he can really do it all. Cover tight ends, you name it. Andrew Van Ginkel is the linebacker version of Josh Metellus. And we saw last season, Josh Metellus broke out last year under this man right here. So, I think Van Ginkel is going to be awesome this season. That's why I want to show him some love here on today's show. Type his jersey number, type those 43s down in the comments section, and show the, I guess the second Swiss Army knife on this Vikings defense some love. And, give me those 43s down there in the chat. But coming up next, Tom Pelissero had a pretty interesting quote on Sam Darnold and, kind of where he stands right now as quarterback 1 with the Minnesota Vikings. I'll share that with you guys here in a second. But first off, I want to give a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, PrizePicks. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, and we will match your first deposit up to $100. PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. And when you guys do create an account and when you're making your first deposit, if you use promo code CLNS, we'll match it up to $100. For game 1 of the NBA Finals, this was the lineup I cooked up. I took the more on Jason Tatum, 0.5 point, and also the more on Luka Doncic, 31.5 points. Then I rode the hot hand of Derek Lively, and I took the more on his 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists. But even when the NBA Finals are over, the hoops action does not stop. You guys can make lineups for the WNBA. Take the more on Caitlin Clark points, take the more on Angel Reese rebounds, whatever it may be. Check them out. Download the PrizePicks app and use promo code CLNS when you're making your first deposit. We're going to match it for you guys up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. It's PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, Tom Pelissero on Sam Darnold is how we're going to close out today's show. But hey, this was Sam Darnold at Vikings Minicamp early on this week. Looking good, and every clip I've seen of him, he has definitely looked the part as a former 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft. But this is what Pelissero said. He said, everything I've heard so far is Sam Darnold has had a really good spring. He's been dialed in. He is talented. 3rd overall pick back in 2018, has a huge arm, can make plays. It's just about consistency, limiting those mistakes that can blow up a bad game. And I totally agree with Pelissero on that. Like, Sam Darnold, if you go back and look at what Carolina Panthers beat reporters, at what San Francisco 49ers beat reporters were saying about him during spring ball and in the summer during training camp, they were raving about him. They were saying this guy is finally turning that page, but it comes down to the in-game stuff and just those crucial mistakes that he has made throughout his NFL career. And, I mean, looking at his touchdown to interception ratio here, I mean, I think that's a good example of kind of who he is. Like, he can throw the ball all over the lot by passing over 12,000 yards. But the touchdown to interception ratio of 63 to 56, obviously not the best, but he does have some dual threat ability as he has ran over 760 yards throughout his career so far. Quarterback rating of 78.3. Completion percentage, he does get a little inaccurate at times, hence why it is only at 59.7. But, you know, gets me to this. I will be thoroughly shocked if Sam Darnold isn't the quarterback one for week one and, in my opinion, for the whole season. And maybe this is me, you know, drinking too much purple Kool-Aid and just I am always an optimistic Vikings fan. I would never be a pessimist like when it comes to, you know, watching and supporting my favorite football team. But I think Sam Darnold's going to start all 17 games, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. And I think some people would be sounding the panic alarms like, oh, J.J. McCarthy can't beat out Sam Darnold. That's not what this is about. The Vikings are going to be patient with J.J. McCarthy. Even if right now, that when the Vikings are watching minicamp, literally right now, they are not going to, you know, immediately see McCarthy make a couple better throws than Sam Darnold and then just be like, oh, he's starting. He's on his own timeline. They want to see him develop personally before, you know, they just throw him in there because, you know, if you throw JJ in there too soon, like, he could lose confidence, and you just don't want him to, you just don't want him to do that. So I think Sam Darnold's going to kill it this season for Minnesota. But hey, maybe you guys disagree. Maybe you want to throw J.J. McCarthy into the Wolves week one in MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants. Let me know. Who should be quarterback one for the Vikes? Give me an SD for Sam Darnold, or give me a JJ for J.J. McCarthy. Now, if you guys could give me a follow on Twitter, I would really appreciate it. The handle's right there at Pat Sieps, and if you guys do so, I will give you guys a follow back. But thank you guys so much for watching today's show. See y'all next time. As always, Skol Vikes.